In this video, guys, I want to talk about the Chicago Electric 30-watt soldering iron in kind of a part two. Now, in my first review, I said for $3, this is actually a pretty good soldering iron. However, some of you have said that no, this is just a piece of junk and it's really worthless and it's very poor quality. And certainly you can make that argument. I guess what I was getting at is that for $3, if it gets you into soldering, then it's a good deal in my opinion. But certainly it is a very, very cheaply made soldering iron. Problems include the handle gets really hot through here. I didn't find it to be super uncomfortable, but I did find it to be mildly uncomfortable. And so that's an issue. Another issue is that the tips are poor quality. And after a while, they tend to melt. And that is something that people have complained about. Some of the irons are not well made, poor quality control by Harbor Freight, and they do not melt solder. So you have to take it back to Harbor Freight. So my point through all of this is that if you want to spend just a little bit more money, and it sounds like a lot of you guys want a better quality soldering iron than this thing, and you're willing to spend a little bit more money. If that's the case, then I want to steer you guys towards the Delcast. It says professional grade, but it's just a higher end soldering iron. Links in the description for where you can get this for about $10. And this represents a much better value than the Harbor Freight Chicago Electric version. Now stick around to the end of the video for a helpful tip. The Delcast is a soldering iron that's made of higher quality component parts. And I'm going to go through some testing with this thing right now for you guys and just really show you, I want to show you where it beats the Chicago Electric version. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about the tips. One cool thing is that the tip on the Delcast is higher quality and you can actually remove it. I'm not saying you would want to do this, guys. You can remove the tip and actually put it in your Chicago Electric. So what's my point in telling you guys this? Well, it makes a good comparison soldering iron because it uses the same size tip. This is my old Radio Shack one, which I still use, by the way. This is not a good comparison because it's not the same kind of tip. But this one is. This is the same kind of tip. You can take it out of your Delcast, you can put it into your Chicago Electric. Point being is that if you wanted to, I'm not saying you would, but if you wanted to, you could just buy these tips. I know you can buy 10 tips for around $10. And you could have just a bunch of tips on hand, and you could have several of these Chicago Electric soldering irons, and you could just use these tips if you wanted to do that. I would rather just use the Delcast because I think it's better build quality, and we'll go through that in a minute. But I just wanted to, first of all, make this observation for you guys, just doing some research for you guys. These tips are the same exact size. So what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and I want to do a quick test. All right, guys, so it's been just a little over 5 minutes, and that should allow this to be plenty hot. So let's go ahead and take some temperature readings with the Chicago Electric. First, putting the thermometer on the tip. I'm getting 363, 358. So about 358, like around 360 on the tip. So that's hot enough to melt solder. And the handle is, let's go ahead and measure the handle here. The handle is 115. Yeah, about I got a 117 there. But about 113, 114, 119, 115. So yeah, the handle is pretty toasty, pretty hot. But let's go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, and we'll move over and we'll do some readings with the Delcast. Now, I just plugged the Delcast in, and as it's warming up, I wanted to talk about a few design features that I really do like about this thing. The way they design the handle, it keeps your hand away from the soldering action. That's number one. Number two is when you set this down, you don't need a little thing to hold it, because when you set it down, just the way they designed it, the tip's not going to hit the ground. It's not going to be hitting your workbench or anything else, just because the handle is so wide. All right, guys, it's been a few minutes now, and so I wanted to go ahead and get some readings from the Delcast soldering iron. So if we go to the tip, and we put it on the tip, we can see 375 degrees, 372 degrees, 354. Yeah, that's 377 right there. That's easily enough to melt solder. I mean, usually solder melts for me around 350 degrees or so, give or take. Sometimes the type of solder makes a little bit of a difference, but for the most part, 350 degrees gets the job done. So this tip gets plenty hot. And then the handle is at 95, 96 degrees. So the handle is not nearly as hot as the Chicago Electric. My bottom line advice, guys, is that if you don't want to monkey around with a very, very, borderline poor quality soldering iron, a great deal for $3 in my opinion. But if you don't want to monkey around with the Chicago Electric, spend $10 and get the Delcast. And you're going to get a soldering iron that has higher quality components. The handle doesn't heat up and get irritatingly hot. The tip is a much higher quality material that won't melt on you like the Chicago Electric can. And I think overall you're going to find yourself having a much better experience if you're going to do a significant amount of soldering. All right, guys, for a helpful tip, when you get a soldering iron like this, any soldering iron, not particularly this one, but when you first get this thing, make sure the first thing you do, plug it in, preferably in an open garage, like this one, and let it just heat up for about 15 minutes. Because what often happens is in the manufacturing process, for whatever reason, these things can produce a lot of foul-smelling smoke. And once you get through that phase, then you'll find it doesn't ever do it again. But that can be an issue even with a better quality soldering iron. So make sure to do that when you first get this soldering iron or any other soldering iron. So I wanted to go ahead and make this video for you guys to give you another alternative. There's no Radio Shacks, I don't think, that are for sale anymore. So I just wanted to steer you in another direction to get you into a little bit better quality soldering iron. And that's it for this video. If you like these videos, feel free to like and subscribe. Totally appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Take care.